How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Dr. Danger's Language Deluxe podcast. I am your host, Dr. Danger, coming at you from Podbean.com as well as YouTube.com. Here tonight to talk to you about WWE's Friday Night Smackdown on the Fox Network, October 11th in the year 2019. Pretty alright show, some ups, some downs, but isn't there always? I'm still tired. Anyone that listened to my review of the Wednesday night shows as well as Monday Night Raw, which I released on Thursday, well, no, I was very delirious, very tired. I got very little sleep on the days that I was away, and that's kind of carried over. Still very sore. Work was a tear because I work at a Barnes and Nobles, right? So we have a complete influx of holiday-related items, which isn't too bad. You know, you get like you always get those stupid, like, holiday-themed little cozy mystery books that the grannies read, and the romance books that the 40-year-olds that wish they were 20 again read, looking at you, Nora Roberts. But, like, that's one thing, okay? The part that's the hardest about dealing with a bookstore that no one ever tells you about, especially if you work in the back room like I do, I work in the receiving, the hardest part is dealing with the kids' stuff. We have so many goddamn holiday-specific themed books for those little tots, and it's been a pain in the ass because we get them so much. But you know what? The part that sucks too is that not only are we getting a bunch of that, we've been getting Christmas stuff in slowly and surely since, maybe even the end of August. But tiny things. That's bad enough. But what's worse is that in about a month from now, Frozen 2 comes out. And you've heard it right here at Dr. Bean. What's his name? Rowan Atkinson? No, who was Mr. Bean? Well, whatever. Yeah, Mr. Bean's gonna show up on the podcast, everybody. 100 download special. Anyway. Yeah, next month Frozen 2 comes out, and Disney is insane. They crazy for this one. They literally, deadass, actually had a press release to announce the line of Frozen merch that was going to be made public. And we're a goddamn bookstore. Why are we selling Olaf plushies? My favorite is that the Olaf plushies we sell, you buy anything in the store. They're $24.99. You buy one anything, and it gets knocked down to $12.99. And when I say anything, I mean anything. You could walk in there with a straight face, and then you could buy a copy of Kama Sutra and Mein Kampf, and we're gonna ask, and then you can get that Olaf for $12.99. That's like what, $13.63 after tax. So that's been a pain in the ass. But anyway, on the Friday Night Smackdown, the intro video is still cool, but just gonna be that guy. AC/DC gets old after a while. Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. So the context for this match is that Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns are gonna face each other off, and whoever would have won, their brand gets the first pick of the draft. And they're doing the draft very different this year. They are trying to make it come off like it's a real draft. The gimmick is there's executives from Fox and executives from USA, and they're all bidding for talent to build up the brand. In fact, throughout the show, there's even intermixed portions where the fucking NFL various talk show guys, like, they talk about what it was like for them in the draft when they were young, and they throw in some wrestling things and stuff. It was neat. It was cheesy, but And they're gonna do the same next week on Raw. Becky Lynch fights Sasha, and whichever one wins, that'll determine who gets the top pick. So Roman Reigns comes out. There's a CGI bulldog hangs over the ring because Vince McMahon hates me. I noticed that people were louder for Roman than Seth. Cheers and boos. Which is funny because Seth's flames at the beginning and the burn it down always get a pop. It's kind of like Suzuki. It's kind of like Suzuki, right? Minoru Suzuki. It's kind of like his Kaze ni Nare, but you know, maybe cheesier, but maybe not. So the match starts out with some slow chain wrestling maneuvers. Kind of neat. These two have the potential, I should say, if they ever wrestle each other again, they have the potential to be able to actually tell a pretty interesting story in the ring because of, how long they've known each other, the history of their characters. So here's hoping we actually maybe get that one day. They get into a striking battle at one point. It's not New Japan quality. I don't even think I should say that because, we're not talking about New Japan, but if I don't say it, someone else will say it or whatever. But it gets the crowd going. And then there's a commercial, then back from it, headlock in the center of the ring. Roman powers out. They have a contest of who can lift who. Seth goes for a stomp. Roman with a roll up for two, but he does that thing where he picks him back up and slams Seth for a near fall. Rollins counters a Superman punch, throws him to the outside, hits Roman with two topes. Then he hits him with a flying knee and frog splash. And then here's the ending. Roman Reigns counters a stomp. They smack each other back and forth. Seth hits Roman with a buckle bomb, the move that, ended Sting's career. And I don't care how old Sting was or maybe how he didn't take it right. That move still makes me worry. Like whenever Alexa Bliss takes a goddamn head bump. This next spot was weird. I don't know if it was bad, but it was weird. Roman goes for a spear, and he jumps in the air and he's flying at Rollins. But then Rollins catches him in his knees and hooks his arm under his arms. So the implication is he countered the spear into a pedigree. I can't recall if I've seen that before. I mean, I doubt Triple H could do it, but yeah. So Seth sets up for another stomp. He does the burn it down thing, but instead of stomping it on the mat with his foot like he normally does, he hits it with the floor. But then after the second one, the Fiend shows up and yanks Seth through the floor with the mandible claw. Then the lights come back on. Seth climbs his way out. Smoke comes from the bottom. Fiend pokes his head out while his thing plays. Lights go out. And then they do the thing where he stands on the ramp, the lights flash, and then he's looking back at the ring. This was a no contest, so, obviously I can't rate it. But the Fiend is 6 stars by himself. And hey, by the way, just thought you'd like to know, surprise, surprise, despite the bad booking, the fact of the matter is, Fiend is still over like a god. It's like this is hard. We come back from commercial and Raw gets their first pick. The list and rules for the draft, they list the rules from the draft. And I took the liberty of snapping a picture just because they probably really don't matter, but it'd be interesting to read them out. So there's over 70 superstars that have been placed into the draft, which that's just the ones that are placed into the draft. I'm thinking to myself, fuck, dude, Vince, you got too many employees. 30 superstars are eligible tonight. 40 more will be available on Raw. For every 2 SmackDown picks SmackDown has, Raw gets 3. And it actually makes sense justifying it because they were like, yeah, I mean, SmackDown's 2 hours, Raw's 3. Tag teams count as 1 pick unless Fox or USA specifically want to pick 1 from each team, which, except for Nikki Cross and Alexa for some reason, they didn't do that. But they put Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross on the same show. That was a little weird to me, but whatever. And lastly, any undrafted superstars will be declared free agents and be able to sign with the brand of their choosing. But I can't remember, or they didn't make it clear whether or not that could or would happen over the weekend, or if they'll be doing that after Raw next week. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. The first pick for Raw is Becky Lynch. And can I just say, I thought it was and I hope they change this next year. I thought it was kind of cheap and lazy that they even included the champions. I think there should have been a rule where it's like, if you're already a champion on a brand, because the champions are brand exclusive, like the Raw and SmackDown tag team titles, I can understand shuffling around IC and US, but the world title stays on SmackDown and the Universal stays on Raw. It's always been that way. But then they're just like, oh, Becky Lynch is going to Raw. That was the first pick. And I'm thinking, oh my God, holy shit, you guys, that's so shocking. The first pick for SmackDown is Roman Reigns. And then Raw picks the OC. I'm very happy they kept them together. They work good together. Their gear and look is cool. And their theme song is Boss. SmackDown then picks Bray Wyatt. I thought Bray Wyatt would have been... I assumed he was going to go to SmackDown. The rumor was that Fox really liked him and wanted him. I'm not sure what this does with his rivalry with Seth. Because, as I mentioned, Bray attacked him. And then WWE had that tweet a few days ago that they deleted where they're like, oh, the Fiend will fight Rollins at Survivor Series. So who knows if they're doing that. Which kind of makes me worried because that tells me one of two things. Either one, Rollins gets drafted to SmackDown, which I don't think they announced him, so they could do that. But that wouldn't make sense because then Raw doesn't have a title. Fox isn't going to give up Brock Lesnar, especially when he's fighting with Cain Velasquez. And I wrote down here earlier because I noticed it, because I thought about it. They must have wanted Tyson Fury on their TV too, because they drafted Braun to SmackDown. But that's just tinfoil hatting. And then Raw's last pick is Drew McIntyre. They show a video of the Fox executives throwing a party after they got Roman Reigns. Intermit between all the draft picks, there's a panel of people. It is Beth Phoenix and her vocal twin, Renee Young, along with King Booker and Joey Samoa. And what was interesting about this was, I guess Samoa Joe is injured. I don't recall hearing that or not, but they pseudo brought it up later. I gotta be honest, Joe here, he wasn't like his bad guy. He was talking like if he was actually a sportscaster, very serious, professional, articulate. I mean, big surprise. Samoa Joe's a great talker, but I thought it was kind of neat. It really tried to help legitimize it. Of course, wrestling fans like me and most likely you, we're in the know. I mean, I've got a Wrestling Observer subscription. But I don't think that should take, just because we know it's fake, I don't think that should take away from the effort. And honestly, I think if you were a kid or a fan that didn't know, this would almost look pretty convincing. Up next is Burger King Corbin versus Chad Gable, who not only do they announce him as Shorty Gable, not only does Corey Graves keep referring to him as Shorty Gable, they even changed his fucking name on his goddamn entrance screen to read Shorty Gable instead of Chad Gable. I was so mad. I mean, at least Michael Cole was defending him, but he's the face announcer. And, since him and Corey are the only two on SmackDown, which I guess is permanent, I don't know. So Corbin cuts a promo. People hate him. Match starts. Corbin throws and smacks Gable around. Gable counters by throwing Corbin into the ring post, throws Corbin in the ring and works the leg. Every single time they wrestle, Gable is able to get himself over and over because he is great. I really wish they'd pull the trigger on this guy. More back and forth. Corbin chokeslams Gable on the table. They go to commercial. When they're back, Gable makes this really good comeback and gets himself over more and more. Moonsault for a near fall. Gable gets a roll through suplex on Corbin that falls with another one. And then this was really weird to me because there's this awesome sequence where Gordon? What the fuck is wrong with me? Gable rolls up Corbin, then transitions to an ankle lock. Corbin rolls out of it, but Gable gets him in a jackknife pin for a 2. Then they stand up, and then Corbin just kind of hits his end of days and wins. It was kind of that. I gave it 3 stars. What the hell was I thinking? This was 2.5 maybe. This is where they show the NFL panel talking about the draft, and then there's more draft picks. Ross slithers out with Orton. SmackDown cashes in with Sasha Banks. Raw recoils with Ricochet, and then SmackDown counters with Braun Strowman, and then Raw hits back with their finishing move, Bobby Lashley. They show the USA executives losing their shit over Randy Orton. What is this, 2007? Tyson Fury recap, and then Brock Lesnar comes out. That was interesting. He never shows up on weekly TV. Well, that's not fair. It's very rare. Very rare. Paul Heyman cuts a Paul Heyman promo like how only Paul Heyman can, and it's very Paul Heyman. He puts over Kane like a god. Ray comes out with Kane. It's gotta be Kane. Ray is a god and puts Kane over as such. They actually showed footage of Cain Velasquez kicking the balls off of Lesnar all those years ago. And then he says in Spanish he'll give Lesnar a matching scar. And I actually knew that before Ray translated. I was watching this with my mother, and she mentioned that Brock was growing his beard back. She's like, "Is that why he's growing it back?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's to recreate the fateful events 9 years ago in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia." God. New Day do their intro before they're breaking Gorilla, which I have to say, I always wondered what that looked like when they did it, and yeah, they just do it in Gorilla like that. Kind of neat. Kofi is as happy as can be with the pancakes in his hand. I don't have a problem with the pancakes. I know critics of WWE go to that as like the first thing, but it's bittersweet to see him like this. I liked him as champion. His matches could have been better, but I liked him. Another NFL panel putting over the draft. And then knew they give the pink Susan G. Komen title belts to these twins, Samantha and Sarah, the what were they called? The Vayus? It was really sweet. New Day cut this very nice, heartwarming, and fuzzy promo, and I liked it a lot. Xavier gives them the belts, and then he says something like, these women's championships. He did that at the end, and I thought, was that a Vince McMahon rib? At least it sounded like it to me. And to be honest, just going by the way they were saying things and the way things, I think Xavier Woods be fucking one of those twins. So the New Day fight the OC. The OC trashes them early and immediately go to break because after they came back from break, New Day came out. They did their nice little video package for the twins. And then they walked down the ring. So they actually used up a little bit of TV time for that. Back from break, this match really was a short Kofi Kingston AJ Styles match at its core because, Biggie, Xavier, Gallows, and Anderson were there. And of course they were important. But for the most part, because when they come back from commercial, they immediately get the hot tag onto Kofi Kingston and AJ Styles. They structure the match in a way to where Biggie, Xavier, and then Gallows and Anderson get taken out. They're out of the ring or out of commission or whatever. And then these two just straight up have a little solo wrestling match. And surprise, surprise, Kofi is actually good and AJ Styles is AJ goddamn Styles. This was the sequence I wrote down, and it was really hard to because I've got big thumbs and they were moving fast. So, Kofi hits AJ, right? With what I've never seen this before. Maybe I have, and I don't remember. I swear to God, I've never seen this before. He hits AJ with what I can only describe as a frog splash crossbody. He did the frog splash motion when he jumped, but he hit a standing AJ Styles. Then AJ went for his forearm. Kofi countered with an SOS. Kofi got him off the ropes and then tried to go for it. AJ counters out. Kofi counters the clash. They bounce off the ropes. Then AJ gets him in a calf crusher. But then Kofi hits a Trouble in Paradise for the win. It was short but fun. I wrote short but phone for some reason, but thankfully I remember what I wanted to say. I gave this one 3 stars. It was nice. The next round picks were Alexa Bliss for Raw. The Fox executives were pissed. They're like, oh no, you mean to tell me that a sports division in Fox won't have a blonde-haired, blue-eyed gal? Dearie me. Lacey Evans goes to SmackDown. Corey's stoked. Raw goes KO. SmackDown comes back with a top rope pick of the Revival. Again, they're the SmackDown champs. And then Raw goes with Natalya. Oh, I'm sorry. The Queen of Hearts. They really be out here trying to make that canon. Vince, you crazy bastard. They announced that, maybe they announced this earlier in the week or earlier in the show, and I don't remember. But they announced Charlotte versus Bayley rematch. And at the time, I wrote for some reason, and then because I don't know about your phones, but you can put emojis in your notes. So I put that one emoji of like the face where he's like his eyes are half lit and like is looking off to the side with a frown. That was before that they come back from commercial and they do the last round of picks. So Raw gets the Vikings. SmackDown drop toe holds with the Lucha House Party. Raw gives a stiff chop back with Nikki Cross. SmackDown 640s with Heavy Machinery. And then Raw dives out the night with Private Party. I mean the Street Profits. I'm going to do that joke every single time I talk about either team. So Charlotte comes out with some stupid CGI stars. I was laughing. But then they go to commercial, do a Tyson Fury promo. At least I think they did. Well, they did do a Tyson Fury promo. And then that's when I wrote here, that's when I realized Fox must have pseudo rigged this. Well, let me rephrase. They worked it to where SmackDown gets Cain Velasquez and Tyson Fury. Because Tyson Fury's hot right now. And Cain Velasquez fucking beat Brock Lesnar. That's clout. I just think it was too coincidental for it to not be so. So they come out. They come back. Bayley comes out. And again, watching with my mom, she had said, oh, Bayley cut her hair. But even if I didn't know that, she came out wearing like a black cap on her head. So I even said, I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess I would have figured she cut her hair. Her gear was slightly different. You know, normally she's got the big, bright colors. But this one was just yellow and black. I didn't think nothing of it. She's wearing her jacket. She comes out, you know, she's all smiles. She does her little... By the way, this is all going to be mostly praise because I thought this was actually really good, and I like it more and more as I think about it. She comes out with her jacket, and then she does the thing, you know, she walks back, winds up, whoa, hey! You know, the wacky inflatable arm flailing you know, I wanted to say Tube Man, but then also Bayley Buddies, and I fucked up. I wanted too much. They shoot in the sky, and I'm like, okay, hopefully this match isn't too long. Maybe there's a post-match angle before the show goes off. But then it was strange. The music stopped. And she got on a frown. And then she pulls back her cap to reveal she has short hair. Which I was kind of bummed. She had very pretty hair. She looks good with the short hair. In fact, I was even saying, I leaned over and told my mom, I was like, dude, she looks like a buff Betty Rubble. And that made me really happy. So then she walks... she turns around slightly. The Bayley Buddies. She then proceeds to grab an axe. And then she hacked the Bayley Buddies. The crowd at the time didn't have that much reaction, but I thought this was really neat. Then she walks in the ring, gets in, bell rings, and then she rushes Charlotte with mean punches. It's not like Sasha Banks, where she came back and shock value was her heel turn. Where, you know, she came back and attacked Natalya, and, you know, which got her over positively. And so, what happens is, I was digging it. My belief was suspended. Go to commercial. Then back into the ring. Bayley's in control. They go back and forth. Crowd slowly gets more and more into it. Charlotte starts to bleed from the mouth. She does a moonsault off the barricade. Back and forth. Bayley hits a belly to Bayley for a near fall. And I thought they were kind of going to do the Jon Moxley thing in New Japan, where the first night he hits the Dirty Deeds, which was his finisher in the E, but it didn't work, and so he unveiled his new finisher, the Paradigm Shift. They didn't do that here, but maybe they'll do that later. That would be interesting, because she even tried to hit Charlotte with the elbow later, and it didn't work. After that near fall, Charlotte tries to do a moonsault. Well, she does do a moonsault, but she predicted that Bayley would get the knees up, because she grabs her and goes into a Boston Crab. Bayley gets out. Then she hits this really sick knee. I almost wanted to yell, "B trigger," just for the cringe. Then a near fall. Bayley gets in the ref's face. And here I thought I was going to hate this because she is just really like, she is yelling, berating, backs turned. It's classic stupid heel stuff. But then Charlotte hits her with natural selection, goes for the figure eight, and Bayley rolls her up for the pin. And then we got to hear her new theme song, and it's kind of cool. I give this 3.5 stars. So they promote the draft next week, and they're like, okay, you know, Next week on Raw, new picks. And to give them a little bit of credit, they actually made sure to take out the pictures of faces that were picked tonight. Little attention to detail. I liked it. But then Bayley cuts a promo at the end. She grabs the mic and says, "Hey, bitches." Everyone is like, huh? Corey Graves even he even lets out a small, what did she say? Michael Cole is silent. She just says, "Screw all of you." Drops the mic, show ends. I thought this was great. I thought this was a really good, well-executed heel turn because there were actual boos at the end. When you do a return or a heel turn like Charlotte, where it's an unexpected attack, and as opposed to something like Bayley, where you actually show her character progressing and turning into this, or slowly revealing it to you, it's more effective. Because, of course, you had the people cheering her, and of course, you had the people booing her, but some of them you could tell, we're just doing that obligation. But she was getting like some genuine heat. I really, really hope they can keep this up, because they may have something pretty good here on their hands. And that was Smackdown. Overall, like I said, really good show. The best part is, no shit, the Fiend. But also this Bayley thing. I genuinely liked it. The air of the draft was pretty good. They kept up their facade nice and tight. I thought overall very solid show. Honestly, it was funny. It was kind of like AEW's show this Wednesday. The beginning and end were really keyno, but the middle was just kind of, man, whatever. So I will be back with you guys next week. In fact, I may have another episode review up this weekend at some point, but that depends if plans follow through like I want them to. And eventually I'm going to talk about the new Toxic Holocaust album because I hear it slaps. Well, I've been your host, Dr. Danger. I will talk to you guys again somewhere down the line, somewhere in time. Adios.